Now, I think it's very safe to say at this point in time that 2023 was the absolute worst year for the Walt Disney Company for multiple reasons. The biggest one of all, at least as far as I see things, has a lot to do with their ongoing box office failures. The multiple failures that they had throughout all of 2023, which, by the way, was indeed Disney's 100th year anniversary. We saw everything happening with Indiana Jones 5, Ant-Man 3, and even the Marvels, just to name a few there, as well as Wish. So many movies fell flat, and even so many TV shows really didn't gain as many viewers as they had hoped for. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. You can also follow me at Mike01. I thank you all so very much for the great and kind support. So, we know that Bob Iger is one that tends to lie to both the shareholders and the customers, and this is an ongoing, thing that he always does. He will say that he's all about quieting down the agenda or phasing out whatever kind of agenda that they have in mind, and then continues on to apply that overall strategy to many different films and TV shows associated with popular brands like Marvel and Star Wars. Now, focusing here on Bob Iger yet again, seemingly freaking out over the pushback from fans, and how a lot of fans are just beginning to get fed up with Disney's ways and moving on to other studios out there that are obviously doing a far better job. Ones that specifically are not falling for the Hollywood agenda anymore further. Now, what's interesting about this moving onwards has a lot to do with, of course, Bob Iger running into damage control once again by really kind of falling into this same exact scenario where he's very, hypocritical in some areas. But let's get into this, alright? Now, with Bob Iger and the rest of the board of directors in a phase of panic right now, one major development has much to do with their financial situation regarding all of their divisions, where Bob Iger recently delivered the following to the general public after one of their emergency meetings took place for April. He goes on to deliver. As CEO, I believe it is my responsibility to address any concerns from both our shareholders and customers involving our recent changes that applied to our cost-cutting measures that will begin going into effect later this year. I can't stress this enough that our support for implementing diversity, equity, and inclusion into our products, such as merchandise, film, television, and our various theme parks and business models, have not hurt our brands in any way, shape, or form. While we do aim to focus on smaller scale content by spending less and making less with our many Star Wars, Marvel, and Disney projects moving onwards, we also are looking forward to our fusion with Hulu and Disney Plus as we aim to increase rates of our subscription services later this year. In addition to this, I would also like to address that as we aim to increase our rates with Disney Plus and Hulu in the near future, we now treat as one. We also felt it was important to apply this technique of ours to our many theme parks around the world to later invest in extensions to our most popular parks to reach out to a wider margin of customers. What we here at the Walt Disney Company find to be very irresponsible, however, from a small margin of our customers that can be very loud and opinionated, is that our support for DEI is hurting our many business models, and this is just simply not true. In fact, I don't think the majority even understand what DEI even really means at this stage, fully, and it's something that should be carefully researched by many of our customers to understand its significance and importance. I would also like to confirm that we have garnered a special team to research our engagement statistics for our many business models, such as Disney Plus, as we aim to remove said content that has not been performing to our standards, while we aim to increase rates simultaneously to provide us with the chance to invest in ways to enhance the Disney Plus experience for many around the globe. After carefully discussing this with the board on how we can find that balance of cutbacks on our many budgets related to Marvel Studios, Pixar, Lucasfilm, and among other divisions at the Walt Disney Company, we also have discussed downsizing the number of employees that we currently have at those divisions, and how those numbers will change in the near future as we aim to apply our smaller scale format, not just with the many productions that we are working on, but also how this will apply to the creatives that we have working on those projects for the years to come. Our cost-cutting measures and our goal of reducing the amount of employees employed at our many divisions is no cause for alarm and is nothing more than a minor speed bump in our development process as we aim to transform the Walt Disney Company full scale. Now guys, let me just, say one thing before I move on about what Bob Iger is spewing here. Once again, running into full-on damage control. Now, basically, he is really bouncing back and forth. He's saying that there's no trouble at Disney, but at the same exact time, they are falling into these speed bumps, alright? Such as getting forced into a scenario where they have to do cutbacks, where they have to fire many different employees, where they have to basically reduce the amount of various budgets applied to their productions. Whether it's Star Wars, Marvel, Disney in general, doesn't matter, it's applying to everything, even the theme parks. And the fact that this is their way of justifying when it comes to increasing rates on Disney Plus to later extend the Disney Plus experience, I think is nothing more than an excuse. I think it's a false promise, and basically what Bob Iger is saying is that they want to increase rates while also removing what's on there that perhaps are not meeting their goals. Alright, so basically in the end, Disney Plus subscribers are going to be paying for the subscription service while they're removing content from that service. It makes absolutely no sense, and it's the biggest red flag of all when it comes to Disney's ways for not just this year, but for 2025, which, by the way, is going to be a very challenging year. Not just for Bob Iger, but also for the board of directors, as there is a constant shakeup between different board of directors over there, based on Bob Iger's overall view of the cost containment plan, essentially. Now, moving onwards, he goes on to conclude, our support for, of course, DEI had nothing to do with our miscalculated box office projections of our many films released in 2023 that happened to land on our 100th year anniversary, and should be better understood that those were unrelated to nothing more than a marketing issue at hand. So again, he's putting full blame on the marketing for movies like The Marvels, Wish, Indiana Jones 5, Ant-Man 3 that failed at the box office, and really is not addressing the major issue. It's either DEI or some form of an agenda or a very lackluster story that contributed to the problem of those films failing terribly at the box office. Let's be honest about this. It wasn't just a marketing problem. It wasn't really the main problem. And that's another thing that Bob Iger always goes on about when it comes to the many Star Wars projects that really fell flat as well. It was a marketing problem, this or that, and it's a never-ending cycle when it comes to Bob Iger, especially as well when it comes to Kathleen Kennedy. So overall, this is an ongoing, vicious cycle over at the Walt Disney Company, and I would love to hear what you all have to say about this below in the comments. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys later.